Our quiz 8 solutions for Math 95. First question, we're asked to find all solutions to this equation right here. The trick for this one is you want to get rid of this radical, and you can't get rid of the radical until you move this 2 over to the other side of the equation. Get the radical all by itself. So we'll do that by adding 2 to both sides of the equation, which gets us here. And now we can square both sides of the equation. Which cancels out the square root on this side, and we'll have to square over here. If you FOIL x plus 2 out, what you get is x squared plus 4x plus 4. And now you have a quadratic equation, no radical in there, so we can set it equal to 0, factor, and solve. So subtract 3x and subtract 10 from both sides of the equation, and you get x squared plus 1x minus 6 equals 0. Which, to factor this, we need two numbers that add to 1, multiply to negative 6. Those two are positive 3 and negative 2. So what we get is x equals negative 3 or x equals positive 2. But be careful on these problems, you always have to check your answer. So let's check x equals negative 3. That'd be 3 times negative 3 plus 10. Square root minus 2. Is that equal to negative 3 question mark? Well, let's see, over here we got negative 9 plus 10, so it's the square root of 1 minus 2. Square root of 1 is just 1. 1 minus 2 is not 3. So 3 is not a solution. Or negative 3 is not a solution. 1 minus 2 is not negative 3. So negative 3 is not a solution. Okay, let's check 2. And then we'd have 3 times 2 plus 10 minus 2 equals 2, question mark. Let's see, this is 6 plus 10 is 16. So square root of 16 minus 2, is that 2? I think it is, because square root of 16 is 4, and 4 minus 2 is 2. So our only solution is x equals 2. All right, then we got a few, so that's the end of number 1. Number 2, we're going to rationalize the denominator a few times. The way you can do that, you got a couple options here. One option would be to multiply the top and the bottom here by the square root of 12. So maybe I'll do it that way. This is just multiplying by 1, right? Root 12 over root 12, so it's not changing anything. But if you do that, you'll get the square root of 60 divided by 12, because 5 times 12 is 60. Root 12 times root 12 is 12. And then 60 is equal to 4 times 15. So say this is the square root of 4 times the square root of 15 over 12, which is 2 root 15 over 12, which is root 15 over 6. Another option would be to simplify this guy and say the square root of 12 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. So really what the question is asking is to rationalize root 5 over 2 root 3. So we don't have to multiply the top and the bottom by root 12, we can just multiply the top and the bottom by root 3. And what that will give us is root 5 times root 3 is root 15. Root 3 times root 3 is 3, times 2 is 6. So you can do it either of these two ways, you get the same answer. Second question here. Let's see, 10 divided by the square root of 2. Okay, let's multiply the top and the bottom. Maybe I'll rewrite this down here. Let's multiply the top and the bottom by root 2 to rationalize the denominator. Again, we're just multiplying by 1 here, so we're not changing anything. But by choosing this form of 1, we've managed to get rid of the square root in the denominator. So 10 times root 2 is 10 root 2. Root 2 times root 2 is 2. And the 10 and the 2 reduce to just 5 root 2. Okay, and then finally, let's do it again, but let's do it with variables. Okay, turns out it's not any different. We're going to multiply the top and the bottom by the square root of x. And what that gives us is x root x divided by x. Root x times root x is x. And now we can cancel these. Maybe I'll show that somehow. We can cancel out this x and this x. And what we're left with is just the square root of x. So what we managed to do is rationalize the denominator, get rid of the square root in the denominator in each of these three cases. And so that's the end of this quiz.